DATV, and the Greater Dayton Area League of Women Voters present Meet the Candidates.
Hello, I am Mary Dysart, member of the League of Women Voters of the Greater Dayton Area, and I am here today with candidates running in the Democratic primary for Representative to Congress of the 10th District. There are 4 candidates: Amy Cox, David Esrati, Joseph Kuzniar, Tony Pombo. We will start our interviews by giving each candidate 1 minute to tell us about themselves and why they want to serve as representative to Congress of the 10th District. And we will start with Amy.
Yes, I'm Amy Cox, and I grew up in Southwest Ohio in Preble County, went to public schools, became a high school science teacher. And as I took a break about 15 years into that career, I started to run for office. Some folks that I were friends with, I worked on their campaign, asked me to do it. I started running for office. I did the 2020 campaign as a state race. I did the 2022 race also as a state rep for my state rep district. And this past summer, I was asked to step into this district. The district lines did change. The district changed to a more working class area. And because that's been my message since I entered politics in 2019, they thought this would be the best fit. So that is why I'm running for this race. I have no plan to step down from protecting women, children, and working families in this country. So I'm Amy Cox.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. And next we'll hear from David.
Hi, I'm David Esrati. I ran for Congress against Mike Turner last cycle. And before that, we had someone from Washington come in and run for office with a lot of money. And they didn't do very well, despite having the help of having President Biden on the ticket. What we have here is a primary. Primaries are awesome things. I love primaries because it puts the choice in the hands of the voters instead of in the hands of the backroom politicians who have recruited somebody from out of our district, which lines did not change since last time. They're the same as they were, to run in this campaign. I am a citizen activist. I am a citizen journalist. I am a known champion for open and transparent government. I currently have a case in front of the 6th Circuit Court of Appeals to get the tapes of former Mayor Nan Whaley that were made by Commissioner Williams in the culture of corruption investigation.
Thank
There'll
you.
be more about that later.
Thank you. Next we'll move on to Joseph.
I'm Joseph Kuzniar. I'm a retired lieutenant colonel from the Air Force, and I'd like to have the opportunity to correct the deteriorating conditions at this area's biggest employer, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Also concerned about Social Security. Don't mess with Social Security. Many folks that enter retirement have no other safety net than Social Security. Veterans. Ohio has one of the largest population of veterans. Turns out that about half of them are Vietnam and Korean War veterans. The VA is not providing adequate shelter or services for this group of people. Thank you.
And next we have Tony.
Hello, my name is Tony Pombo. I'm a first-time candidate for political office. The reason I got into this is for several years I've been following what's going on with the country, politics in general, and the conditions of the middle and working class. It's become quite clear that the politicians that we currently have in office care little or nothing about the conditions of the working class. If we look at the quality of life in the last 50 years, there's been a steady decline as the money that used to go to working class has been shifted up to the ultra wealthy. And that happens. Maybe that's okay. The problem is that our politicians are not just encourage it, but pass policy to make it happen. This has got to stop. Most Americans are not the ultra elite. and we need somebody like myself to fight on their behalf in Congress to restore the balance of safety net and
Thank you, Tony.
power.
Thank you.
Thank you to the middle class.
I will now ask each candidate the same questions. You will have 2 minutes to speak to each question, and then I will move on to the next candidate and give them 2 minutes to respond. So for our first question, I am going to start with David, and the question is, what attributes or qualifications do you possess that would make you a good choice for Congress?
Thank you. I am an Army veteran. I rose my right hand, swore an oath to protect the Constitution. I understand what that means. I was willing to die for my country. And since then, I've been fighting for what I believe is democratic representation in Montgomery County ever since I bought my house in 1986. Our community has been pillaged by the two parties that have worked in concert to stack our judges, to make sure that the rich get richer and the rest of us suffer. In Dayton, if you want to figure out how things work, it is how much can we fill a landfill and how many houses can we demolish? Pure and simple. When it gets to the federal level, let's take a look at this. I ran against Mike Turner for mayor in 1993. We were both newcomers. People confused us. We were both two white guys with glasses and a head of hair. I don't have my hair anymore, but that's okay. He was driving a Dodge Shadow with a George H. Bush bumper sticker on the back. He wasn't a wealthy man. He wasn't connected, but he's been a lifetime politician. And in his last round against me, he raised money from 27 billionaires. 27. Since 2020, Oxfam said that billionaires are 46% richer than they were in 2020. Isn't that kind of insane? All of you have played Monopoly. When somebody has all the property and all the money, the game stops. And that's the situation we're in. And the question is, do you to have a candidate that works for you, lives in your community, understands this country, or do you want to be represented by the parties?
Moving on, we're going to ask Joseph the same question. What attributes or qualifications do you possess that would make you a good choice for Congress?
Well, I'm also a first-time candidate, never ran for office. But while in the Air Force, I did work a lot of federal programs. I worked Air Force Program Memorandum, their 5-6 year budget submittals. I've worked with congressional staffers on plus-ups. I've also worked budget cuts and was able to get several reversed and restored. I was actually appointed to a White House, it's a long name, but it's basically a interagency wiring working group that was chaired by Vice President Gore. I've also worked with numerous government entities, including the Army, the Navy, Coast Guard, Space Defense Initiative under General Abramson, CIA, NSA, NSC under Admiral Dubois, DIA, Under Secretary of Defense for Intelligence, Dr. Hall, also Secretary of the Air Force, Pete Aldridge, who also was on a shuttle mission as an astronaut for its Vandenberg launch that was canceled. I happened to be the mission integrator for that. Also various NASA and FAA centers, National Transportation Safety Board, Nuclear Regulatory Commission, etc. I've chaired the first and fourth DoD, NASA, FAA aging aircraft conferences, and due to 9/11, was asked by NASA to bring their fifth one to an orderly conclusion. I formed and chaired an interagency S&T wiring system working group in 2003.
Thank you.
They took over when I retired. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to give Tony a chance now. What attributes or qualifications do you possess that would make you a good choice for Congress?
Well, I am a member of the working class, have been my whole life. I connect with the local people. I know the struggles and aspirations of the local community. I've been a computer consultant my entire life, sometimes working as an employee of a company, sometimes as a consultant going from place to place. I have talked to numerous people in all walks of life, and we discuss everything, politics, struggles in life. I know what people are upset about. I know what people want done. I took a break from doing computer work for a couple of years, actually for about 10 years, because I got kind of burned out of the office environment. And I was an electrician, professional electrician for about 10 years. And this put me in the homes of dozens, well, hundreds of families. I've talked to thousands of people over that 10 years. And of all walks of life, the super wealthy, the dirt poor that really couldn't afford to have me in their home. And we chat. While I'm working, we chat. I know what people need. I know where the government is letting us down. It basically goes back to they prioritize the wealthy. The policies that are enacted are to move money up. There's a reason that inflation, it makes sense. Prices, the dollar's worth less, prices go up, everything goes up. If your burger doubles in price at McDonald's, then obviously the salary of the employees also double in price because the dollar's lost its value. But that's not what happens. The rich don't raise the salaries to match the inflation, and that little bit of extra that doesn't get raised on the employee's salary is kept as profit. And this has been happening 50, 60 years, forever. This is why we have the middle class and the working class that have to have two jobs just to get by. They're not working two jobs because they want to get ahead. They're working two jobs because they have to just to pay rent. I know the people in the area. I'm smart. I'm a quick learner. I think outside the box.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think I'm a good candidate. Thank you.
Thank you. And Amy, what attributes or qualifications do you possess that would make you a good choice for Congress?
Well, I always like to say I'm a mom, a teacher, and a scientist. That gives me a pretty good view of what we're in for. Moms are the CEOs of their homes. We run budgets. A lot of this is what we do in Congress as well. There's just a different matchup as to what a mom would do with the budget and what maybe people that are, I guess, driven by the money of corporations and wealthy people would do with the United States budget. And we see what that does. As a teacher, I saw what policy does to working families on the faces of their children. And that causes a lot of stress. Ask any teacher that you know, and they'll tell you that's their biggest stressor, seeing that. And we're not dumb. We can follow the money. We can follow legislation, which is how I got into politics. Right to work legislation pretty much demoralized me and my ability to make a living wage. So I traced that back to state house politics, and that's how I got into politics to begin with. I do share in business owning. We have a co-op. It's called Guided by Mushrooms here in Montgomery County. We were one of the first co-ops. So I know how to manage a business at that point in time. We do all help together with that. I have a strong labor background. This means I'm not easily intimidated. And I'm proud of that. This is generations, starting with my great granddad who was a coal miner, my granddad who was an auto worker, my dad who was a teachers union president. Okay, we don't scare easily, and I know working people. I am a working people. And because we are in a second Gilded Age, we need labor people to get us out of this. There's no other way we got out of the first Gilded Age. So labor background. I have a sense of humor and small town charm. But when it comes to the rights and quality of life of working people, I don't play. And I'm not playing with these corporations, and I'm not playing with these wealthy donors that bankroll the campaigns of people that hate.
We're going to move on now to our next question. How do you think Congress should address immigration issues? And we will start with Joseph.
Well, first of all, I think of the Statue of Liberty and the saying there that welcomes immigrants into the United States. I think, in a way, except for Native Americans, Eskimos, we're all descended from immigrants. And I think we have to allow that opportunity. They do have to, though, be screened so that we don't get, like Cuba many years ago, emptied their prisons and sent them to the United States. So we do have to vet them. But other than that, I think this is a country of opportunity. We have to give the immigrant class, especially from places like Venezuela. Can you imagine those people walking all the way from Venezuela to the U.S. border just to get an opportunity to live here? I think we have to give all those immigrants a chance, the same as our ancestors were given. And with that in mind, I think we have to be more open. We don't build border walls, for example. Walls don't work. Berlin Wall didn't keep people from escaping from East Berlin into the West, even when they reinforced it with wire and mining fields. In the old days of the space program, the only man-made object that could be seen from space was the Great Wall in China. Didn't keep the Mongols out of taking over China. So in summary, I'm saying we want the immigrants, we want to give them an equal shake like we had. Thank you.
And now we'll go ahead and give Tony a chance to answer. How do you think Congress should address the immigration issue?
I have an outside the box approach on this. The issue that people have with immigrants isn't immigrants; it's illegal immigrants and people that we don't want here. There are, some of the people who come into our country aren't adding value, and we don't want them here. So all the talk about this immigration policy is to stop that. The wall is to stop that. It's not to stop immigration. It's to stop illegal. So let's think about this differently. Let's make it easier to get in the country. At the border, everybody is given a green card. You're just given it. It's like candy. Here you go. Here's your green card. Welcome to America. As part of this process, your photograph is taken, your fingerprints are taken, you're put in the database. If 60, 90 days go by and no income tax is reported to that green card, we hunt that person down, ask them why they're not contributing to society, possibly kick them out. Anybody we find that does not have a green card, we immediately kick them out. I don't mean kick them out as in, go back home, you're back on the street, make your way back to Mexico. I mean, stick them on a plane, drop them off at the South Mexican border, make them walk through their entire country to get back here. We need to solve the illegal immigration problem. We need to stop the source of it. Make it not illegal, make it easy, and make it so people want to come in legally so we can track them, so they can get driver's licenses, so they can get insurance, they can pay taxes, and employers who want to hire these people can hire them. That's, I think, a novel approach to look at it. I think we should consider something like that.
Moving on again, we're going to allow Amy a chance to respond. How would you address immigration issues?
Well, immigration is always going to be an issue moving forward. A lot of these folks that are immigrating to the United States were their last best hope. Many of them are coming from areas where climate change has left them without a job, a town, a home, water source, you name it. We even have a little bit of that going on in the United States as droughts chew up areas of agriculture and land. So it is going to be an issue, which tells me we have to get a system designed that is efficient, sustainable, and effective with getting these folks through. Clearly, we have to screen people. We have to have people there to help those folks. We have to have networks of folks to get people into jobs. Now, if you don't like immigrants, you're kind of in the wrong place. The country was founded on immigrants. We all know this. But if you eat in this country, you have to think of immigrant. If you know farmers, especially large operations, they all employ immigrants. It's Christmas tree farms employ immigrant workers. So we have to have them. It's not going away. The issue's not going away, but we have to have a system that is completely funded. We do not fund the system that we have now, which is why it is the cluster that it is. So I say, sit down. We've got to talk to people who know what they're doing with this, come up with that system, and fund it.
Well, thank you, Amy. David, how do you think Congress should address the immigration issue?
Well, Congress as we have it now, where 95% of the people get reelected pretty much no matter what, is not going to fix it. Number one, most of them can't work across the aisle. Number two, we have people who dwell on being in the spotlight and grandstanding, and we don't have anybody that calls them out. One of the things Republicans have done really well is be able to message well. Remember Contract with America, things like Make America Great, Build the Wall. We, as Democrats, the last good line we had was, it's the economy, stupid. And it's still the economy, stupid. I am a first-generation American, and I believe we should have immigration. The way we have immigration now, as Tony said, absolutely does not work at all. The system is broken. But, you know, part of the reason the system is broken is because our country is broken. And we're not going to be able to fix this problem until we fix our country first. And while we're having these politicians screaming about these things, from trans bathrooms to immigration, you still don't have health care. And if you had health care, we wouldn't have drug addicted people who are funding the drug cartels who are disrupting governments south of the border. If you didn't have the homeless problem, if you didn't have mental health, no care, all these things are connected. We have to fix our country for Americans before we fix it for the rest of the world. And immigration will start to take care of itself once we take care of America first. And that's as simple as it gets. Because without health care, you and I and everybody else is at risk. National security is universal health care. We don't need an F-35, we need cancer not to cause bankruptcy, because last I checked in every medical dictionary, there is no connection at all between the two. Thank you.
And our last question for this interview, we are going to start with Tony. What are your priorities for District 10?
My priorities for District 10 are the same for my priorities for the entire country. The nice thing about this position that we're all running for is that we get to affect not just District 10, not just Ohio, but the entire country. My priorities are to restore the prosperity and well-being of the working class. Everything that everybody has said today in this questionnaire has been to further that goal, the healthcare. That's part of it. Without healthcare, you don't have stability. When one slip and fall can result in your bankruptcy and your lifetime of work destroyed, you don't have security. We've got to fix this. We need to reverse or change the policies that give tax breaks to the ultra rich. They don't pay their fair share. They simply don't. The conservatives will talk about how the poor don't pay their fair share, but in reality, it's the upper 1% that don't pay their fair share. With that loss of tax revenue to the government, we don't have the money to do things like make college affordable like it was in the 50s and 60s and 70s. There are many colleges that were flat out free. When they cut the funding, we lost that. So people going to college is unobtainable for so many folks. How many doctors don't we have because they couldn't afford to go? So the income inequality, trying to fix that, bringing stability back to the middle class, that is probably my key issue. There are many other things, of course. We have the climate change is a serious problem. The plastic trash heap in the Pacific Ocean, that's a problem. Immigration's a problem. There's gun violence, that's a concern. There's so many things. My primary focus will be on helping the working class have stability, because the average working class is not concerned about abortion on a day-to-day basis. That's what I'm going to concentrate on.
Okay, well, thank you. Amy, what are your priorities for District 10?
My priorities are pretty much the same as they've always been. Well-paying jobs for folks here so that those jobs can pay to support the families that work those jobs. This could mean expanding research at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. We have a Space Force now. We could make that a research hub here in the United States, more so than it already is. Healthcare for everyone. I know everyone here on the call understands the need for healthcare in this country. I come from a family of nurses as well. It's criminal what we do to working folks. As a teacher, I knew students who missed an entire week of school because they had a toothache and they didn't have coverage. They didn't even have their teeth cleaned every 6 months, like, you know, those people with health insurance. It's atrocious. And like David Esrati said, it is a national issue that does come down to, national defense. We have to have healthy people here. Healthcare for everyone would also open up small business opportunities to fill those niches. How often can you get an electrician in your house? How often can you get a plumber in your house? How often can you get those folks, a mechanic? If you have to start a small business and you can't offer health insurance, you're not going to get too many employees. So getting healthcare for everyone opens up a whole lot of business opportunities for folks. And finally, education and affordable education for folks. Everyone's going into debt if they want to go to college. As a teacher, I invested tens of thousands of dollars into my education, and for what? Okay, I never made enough wages to pay it back at a substantial amount. So I applied for public service loan forgiveness, was denied the first year we could apply. Took me 5 years to finally get it. This is what we have to do. And I am not the only person that invested in their education and then was set up with terrible wages.
Thank you, Amy. David, what are your priorities for District 10?
My major priority is making sure that Mike Turner is not your representative. That somebody understands that when the former president takes top secret documents home and looks at them in his bathroom, you don't defend him as the head of the House Intelligence Committee. That's just unacceptable. Mike Turner should be run out of the country for that, and it's got to stop. We need to understand that all the people who voted against accepting the election results were also involved in sedition and were traitors and should have been removed from Congress. They got elected by that same election. Our government has been lying to us. It is not trustworthy. We don't believe in it anymore. It's been exacerbated by that former president, and we're not going to fix it until we fix some other things. One of the things I think that is absolutely in need of repair is you as a product. You are a digital sharecropper on sites where your information and your data is sold over and over and over without you having any say in it or getting any remuneration for it. Mark Zuckerberg gets richer, Alphabet gets richer. This has to stop. If we don't enforce antitrust, if we don't stop the algorithms and our data from being sold and us being sold over and over and over, we're going to end up with 3 grocers, Walmart, Amazon, and Kroger/Albertsons. We're going to end up, we already have 4 meat producers and 6 chicken producers. It's because the cost of government. And I believe in running without support of PACs and unions, whereas we have a candidate here whose average donation is $700 and she's straight out of the gate. That is incredibly insane. They don't want me to be your congressman for a reason. They don't want me to face off against Mike Turner. Mike Turner's come after me before. He lost. He will lose again if I have proper support. And I ask you to make the right decision on March 19th. Thank you.
Thank you. Joseph, what are your priorities for District 10?
Well, as I started out, I talked about correcting the deteriorating conditions at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. The last thing I want to happen is that Wright-Patterson Air Force Base goes the way of the auto industry in the Dayton area. Don't consider Wright-Patterson Air Force Base safe. I lived in Los Angeles for 9 years. At that time, the Navy had a great facility in Long Beach and one of the best hospitals in the military system. A couple of years after I left, they closed down Long Beach Naval Base, and they also closed down the hospital. Same thing happened at Kelly Air Force Base in Texas. They were sure they'd never go away because they handled C-5, and they had the only hangars in the Air Force that were capable of working on the C-5. They closed it down, moved C-5s over to Warner Robins in Georgia. The C-5s, only the front end fits in the hangar, the rest sits outside. They do not want the same thing happen to the biggest money owner in the district, basically Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So we got to do our best to improve conditions there and keep Wright-Patterson Air Force Base here and helping the local economy. I also mentioned on Social Security, I really feel for people that only have limited savings and just Social Security to enter retirement. They need that as a safety net. Thank you.
Thank you. In closing, we would like to provide each candidate with 1 minute for a closing statement, and we will start with Amy.
I appreciate the opportunity that you have given us here to get to know the candidates better. Again, I would like to say that it is an honor to run, to be able to represent working families in this area, protecting those of us not us, but those that have worked their entire lives to have dignity as they retire. And I look forward to winning the primary and moving on to kick Mike Turner, who does nothing for working families, into retirement where he belongs. Thank you so much for your time.
David, what would you like to say in your closing statement?
I'm David Esrati, and you can find lots of information on my blog on Esrati.com, which has been published since 2005. You can find a lot of information on my website, Elect Esrati, and you can find videos of neighborhood meetings exposing corruption in town on my YouTube channel at Elect Esrati. You need to do your research and find out what happens and who you want to recommend. And this is one step if you're watching this. Another would be to come to the South Dayton Dems are going to have a candidates night on February 21st at the Wright Library in Oakwood. I would love to see the Greene County Dems and the Clark County Dems organize similar meetings, but they have not been active in participating in this process in the past. Come out and meet us, call us. My number's on my literature and on my website. Ask the hard questions and get the answers you need. And don't be a single issue voter either. There's a lot more to this. Thank you.
Joseph?
Well, first of all, please re-elect President Biden and also Senator Sharon Brown. They've both done an outstanding job, and we need them. As for yours truly, I would really appreciate if you voted for me in the March Democratic primary. Excuse me, losing my voice. Thank you.
Thank you. And Tony?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. As the others said, this is a great forum. We need more stuff like this. Every voter needs to do their due diligence to discover which candidate represents them best. Obviously, I believe I'm a good choice for that. As a computer professional for 20 years doing programming and security design, my entire job has been to look at a problem, to look at a situation and evaluate it and improve it every day, day in and day out. That's all I've done for 30 years. This is just an extension of that. Look at the problems we have in government, evaluate them, and come with out-of-the-box solutions to fix them. It's just that simple. I asked for your vote because I need it, and I think I got a good message and the skill set and the attitude to get it done. Thank you for the opportunity, and please vote for Biden and Sherrod Brown as well.
Thank you. Thank all of you for your participation today, and good luck with your campaigns.
Thank you.
The League of Women Voters encourages all candidates to run on an issues-oriented campaign. Our goal is to educate the voting public and strengthen our elective political process. Additional questions will be asked of the candidates on Vote 411, which starts to be available on our website before early voting starts. Early voting for the upcoming primary election begins February 21st at your Board of Elections, or you can request an absentee ballot. I'd also like to remind everyone that the ID requirements for in-person voting have changed. Whether you vote early or vote on Election Day on March 19th, these are the acceptable forms of ID: an unexpired Ohio driver's license, an unexpired Ohio State ID card. This card can be acquired at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles free of charge. An interim identification form issued by the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, a U.S. passport or passport card, a U.S. military ID, Ohio National Guard ID, or a U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs ID card that includes the voter's name and photograph. Remember, your opinion matters and helps make our democracy work. If you have questions, feel free to call our League office at 937-228-4041.